And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's NBA observations and a Lakers-Pistons preview for you. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On this week's episode of the PCC, pretty darn good one as we cover the failure of Here at the box office. We also talk about Agatha All Along. Is it worth your time on Disney Plus? We talk about that. Plus, we also go ahead and give our thoughts on Dragon Age, The Veil Guard, and so much more. So go ahead and we also start giving you a little bit of a taste of Black Friday. So yes, that's right. Our favorite time of the year here at the PCC. So yes, go ahead and hit up the Pop Culture Cosmos, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports Fantasy Football coming up later this week. Me and Chris Ardieri, maybe Joe Soro, will be going ahead and talking about Week 10 in the NFL. Looking forward to that. But also as well, of course, our good friends, Joe Soro, of course, Simblades with a Y.com, and of course, also as well, he is Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. The Lakerholics crew, they were stopping on by on Saturday. Hope you got a chance to check out that conversation. It's available now on YouTube. Also as well, go ahead and make sure you check out Empire Jeff TV, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights, Lakers in 5. Also as well, of course, don't forget John McHalian channel, Legend. He has his new channel he dropped on here for you. And also as well, of course, Alfred Ezman as well. Please like and subscribe and follow to all these great places. Make sure you like and subscribe to us because it really helps us out, and become a member today. If you look below, I give shout outs. Big shout out to Kala, who is our latest individual that signed up to be a part of the membership program for the Lakers Fast Break. Become a member today for just $2.99 a month. Brought to you from all of us here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, the Lakers are going to play here in just a little bit. I will have it on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. It'll be, of course, the Lakers and the Pistons. The Lakers coming in there, record of 4-2. Looking to see if they can get even better of our team in Detroit that just played last night. So we'll see what happens. Also, the rumors and innuendo going around. We talked about it last night with Jackson Hayes. Of course, there's the stuff going on in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid. Orlando has a major injury. Who better to cover the NBA with me? If Legend's not here, then a good man indeed. It is another awesome individual that knows basketball, but he is also first and foremost covering the world of baseball at the World Baseball Network and Southeastern 16. It is Alfred Ezman. Alfred, great to have you back, my friend. Always looking forward to chatting some NBA with you, always.
Yeah, Gerald, thank you for having me. World Series is over. Congrats to the Dodgers once again. I'm sure we've heard that a bunch already, but finally, a little bit of fresh air for me, so to speak, as far as work stuff goes, which is nice. Still working hard. Don't get me wrong, even today, but just a little bit of a, short, a little bit more relaxing, I guess is the way to put it. As of right now. Right. I've been watching the NBA, a lot of unique and weird storylines to start the year. Pretty, exciting starts of the year, I think, obviously for the Lakers and for a lot of teams, and a pretty just, bustling news story kind of starts of the year. So excited to be back here. Looking forward to hopefully a good game tonight between the Pistons and Lakers. And yeah, ready to talk some ball.
So with that, my friend, let's start off with the news of the day. We talked about it last night quite a bit, Joe and I, but I wanted to hear your thoughts. First off, of course, affecting the Lakers the most. He is still listed on the active report, so the league has not done anything about this yet. It is Jackson Hayes. I'm sure you are already very well aware of what went on in regards to Jackson Hayes, of course, the case that he's already gone to trial to, and no contest. He's already served his community hours, etc., etc. But TMZ over the course of the weekend posted a very interesting and very concerning ring video. I don't know who provided to them. Of course, they will never divulge their secrets on that. But your thoughts, the league, seeing this video, which didn't do anything at the time as far as any type of punishment or anything like that when he had his court case and all that went through the legal matters some years ago. This was when he was with the New Orleans Pelicans, by the way. What are your thoughts on what the league may do now? Because again, as I said to Joe last night, I think it's a matter of the league suddenly saying, you know what, we didn't do this a good job of vetting this the first time around. We kind of let this sweep under the rug, kind of let the legal system of the courts handle it. This may not be a good look for us, so maybe we need to take a second look.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it that way. That's the part that kind of weirds me out about the whole thing is this is popping back up after he's already served probation for this back in, what was it, 2022, something like that?
22 or 20, yeah, something like that, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the really weird part to me about the whole thing is it seems like he's done his due diligence. You kind of mentioned it when you were talking just now. He did his due diligence, for this case, and all of a sudden it's popping back up again, and now they're looking back into it again. It really sucks for the Lakers as a whole, just because this is obviously a big distraction for Jackson Hayes, Coach Redick, and hopefully not the rest of the team, but maybe even the rest of the team with all this going on. I guess you get that with being the Lakers, all the time. It seems like at certain times, it just 7 games now coming into tonight to start the season. You're hearing this pop back up again, and yeah, it's a pretty kind of discouraging story, honestly, and I just hope the right thing is done. I don't know how the NBA will take it. I don't want to speculate on how the NBA will take it. That's due to the respect for Jackson Hayes and JJ Redick and, everyone else involved. And Miss Sophia, the girl who is, at the center of this whole incident as well. Out of respect for those people, I kind of don't want to speculate on what's going to happen. I just think it's weird to me that it's coming back up again after Jackson Hayes has done due diligence for this. So that's a tongue twister, by the way. So please forgive me.
It is due diligence.
Yeah.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore. There you go.
Right. Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying, though. That's the weird part to me. The video, Kurt just said it here in our chat. I agree with that a little. The video kind of adds a different sort of look to this that I guess kind of entails a second look, but it's just, I don't know what exactly they're going to do, the second time around. It'll be something to watch out for. And, I just hope, as always, with these kind of situations, justice is served in the right way.
Again, with the league, it's always about how do they look? And that's the thing I have on this. It's not the fact that obviously there was something very atrocious that was done. And my heart goes out to the victim in this situation on a personal level. But this is not about her or Jackson Hayes anymore. This is about the league letting it sweep under the rug the first time around and doing nothing about it. Then all of a sudden, now there's video attached to it. It wasn't just a little blotter on Twitter. It just wasn't a little news article on the local newspaper. It is now something that people have seen across the entire world. So now that presents a bad image to us. Now we're going to have to see if we can do something about it, or at least look into it. And it's just like, it's concerning. I don't know if it's creepy. I don't know the exact right word to use for it. It's just the fact that the NBA looking back into this just because TMZ. Does TMZ always have to post things before the NBA looks into something? Whether it's right, wrong, indifferent. Does that always have to happen before things like this, as far as what happened to vetting it right the first time?
Exactly. Yeah. And TMZ themselves, they've had there's a unique news source. I'll put it that way. about them. Jared, I'm sure you're kind of knowing what I'm hinting at there. But, they had a busy week. They obviously, they posted the other thing I saw with them that I think makes it interesting. I'm sure if you guys are, sports fans at all, you saw the Jason Kelsey thing this weekend at Penn State with him smashing a student's phone after he used, a very,
Oh, we
very.
talked about that one too last night.
Mhm.
I had to edit the video. I had to make a recut of it because Joe almost went a little too far. Even
Right.
for Joe, he had to stop himself because he was so mad at that student. And I hope that student gets expelled. I'm going to
I
be
did too.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's uncalled for. It's unwarranted. He did nothing to the student except walk across the student, and this guy has to go ahead and say those just absolutely just abhorrent things to say. There's this kid does not deserve a college education if that's the case.
Yes. No, I agree. And he said a word. If you want to know what the word is, go look it up. It's pretty
It was
clear
a
what it
homophobic
is.
slur. Let's just put it that
Yes.
way. Yes, yes. Joe was like
Yes.
almost repeating his, almost said, I was like, no, no, Joe, no, no. So yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
no, don't do that.
I will not. I will not be saying that on here. But with that being, the reason I bring it up is TMZ only posted the angle of Jason Kelsey repeating the word to the student after the student had said the word previously to him. If that makes
Because
sense.
I saw like four different
Hmm.
angles on a separate. I didn't read it on TMZ. I read it off a regular news article that had like four different angles of it, the whole incident, which including the slur that was involved. So yeah, absolutely, this kid he precipitated it. He instigated it. It was uncalled for. And again, this kid deserves disciplinary action. Oh, I'm sure he'll sue Travis Kelsey or
Yeah.
whatever, or file charges, blah 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 blah. But you know what? This kid deserves all the blame, and this kid deserves all the punishment in this case.
Yeah, yeah, there has to be some sort of consequence for that. I mean, that's just completely disgusting. But essentially, long story short, TMZ had a pretty busy weekend, obviously with this, and then Jackson Hayes, this video popping up as well. Just again, I think it's important to take all angles of this into account. And I assume that's going to happen now that the NBA is looking into this a second time with Jackson Hayes. So it's certainly, I just hope something's done in the right way, and I hope the NBA gets it right if they feel the need to get it right this time.
Once again, I'm on with Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and check out the great work he has got lined up for you today by starting off with his Twitter at Alfred Ezman right there for you. Again, World Baseball Network and more right there for you. Go ahead and check out all the hard work that he's doing. But as a fellow journalist, someone who you have a journalism degree, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like me? Okay,
That is
yes.
correct.
Mine sits almost proudly right up there in the right corner as I look. Yeah, absolutely. Wait, why is it fading away? I don't know why. No, I'm just kidding. It's like National said. I'm sorry, Gerald. It only lasted for a couple of years. Goodbye. But as of someone who has earned a fellow journalism degree besides you, the journalists, TMZ, whatever you want to say about TMZ, I know, of course, Joe spoke so much of it last night, but that wasn't even probably the biggest incident in the NBA. And TMZ wasn't even the one that covered this latest one,
Mm-hmm.
and that is I guess the near the locker room incident in Philadelphia in regards to a Philadelphia Inquirer sports writer and also as well Joel Embiid. We did cover it in full last night. Your thoughts on it? As a journalist, as someone who writes and has written for a living in the past, and hopefully maybe I will try to do it again. I don't know, but I write occasionally still. It is something where I am very concerned about where you draw the line, and going into a man's family to get your point across, I think cross that line entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it's despicable once you look into it. And Joel Embiid had every right to do what he did. I mean, it's that cut and dry and simple. Um, I think
He should have
you
never laid his
can't.
hands on him because that only plays into
Mhm.
that.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. I will say that. I do think you have the right to go up to him and sternly, in quotes, address it.
Or
Like he,
go
I guess
after
he
his
was
paper, or make real pointed remarks about the paper itself.
right. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I never have had the thought in anything I've written once. Granted, I don't have the career to be a Philadelphia Inquirer writer yet, but I don't have, I've never had the thought once when I'm writing something about a player or a team to go after someone's family member, as in that player's or someone on that team's, family. Go after
Mhm.
someone in that group. It just that's never crossed my mind once, like not once when I'm writing. I can proudly say that, and that's not what journalism is about. That is clearly crossing some sort of line as to just invasion of privacy, maybe not even that, just all out respect for the individual you're writing about and covering. You should have respect for what you're writing about because, well, it kind of like gives you a career path, in all honesty. So um yeah, Joel Embiid, obviously putting the hands on the writer is something you don't want to do there at all. But as far as addressing it goes, he had every right to do this. It reminds me too, Gerald, I'm sure you remember this. I don't know as much about that situation, but the DeMarcus Cousins did
Mhm.
something very, very similar to a reporter. That video is everywhere if you want to go look it up. He did something very similar to a reporter while he was in Sacramento, in regards to that. I'm not sure what was written in his case or anything, but it's pretty much mirror images of that. So yeah, I would like to see some sort of consequences for this writer. I don't know if it's getting fired, maybe just getting suspended without pay for a good bit or something like that too.
Taking
I
away
don't.
his credentials would be the thing I would be saying, if that's as far as that's
Mhm.
concerned. I think Joe, I agree with Joe. Joe had a very pointed out, in all the anger rants he did last night. The one thing he clearly pointed out that I 100% agree with is take away his credentials. Yeah,
Yeah.
how effective can a sports writer be if he can't cover the sport he's writing about?
Right. Not as I could say, from experience on that, not as effective as you would be if you were there at all.
Mhm.
So absolutely 1,000,000%. I think that's a good way to do it too. Um, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry and simple. I think if you really have, yeah, I guess I'll get into a Joe Soro bag a little bit here. If you have any sort of brain cell, I think you know that this writer was in the wrong. I mean, honestly, about this whole thing, and it's really that cut and dry. So
As of now, everyone on the front for Jackson Hayes, he is still eligible to play. The league has not said anything else other than it's just reopening the investigation with him. I put the injury report for everyone out there to see on the YouTube and also as well in the chat right there. The Lakers say Anthony Davis, Reeves, and Russell, who was questionable, have been upgraded to available for tonight's game. So they will have everybody for tonight's game in Detroit. So with that, my friend, before we get into previewing the Lakers and the Pistons, it is of course Alfred Ezman along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching us. I feel like we go through the police blotter every now and then. There's just waves. It just comes in waves as far as it's concerned. I mean, you could always question Joel Embiid's conditioning, uh,
hmm
how he ramps up for the season, things of that nature. But to attribute it to his dead brother and then go off on his connected to his son as well, who are, incidentally are named, both have the same name. He named his son after his brother who passed away during his first year in the league. I just thought was over the line, and I'm glad you concur with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, there's definitely flaws to Joel Embiid. I think as a basketball player, and I'd be happy to get into those, but I'm never going to go after a deceased family member of his at all. In any sense of in any sense of talking about it, really, in terms of basketball. Why? It really has nothing to do with basketball. To be all honest about it, about how he plays. So I think it's just two things that need to be separate, and to this writer, it just wasn't obvious for some reason. And yeah, there needs to be some sort of punishment for it. So that's really a wrap on that whole Joel Embiid Philadelphia Inquirer saga.
Before we head over to our preview of the Lakers and also as well the Pistons, I want to go ahead and ask your thoughts on the NBA, especially with a team that you covered for quite a while and how we first met. I'm looking for an Orlando Magic expert. Like, oh, here's a good guy that writes articles on the Orlando Magic. All right, I think I'll go and reach out to him. And look at a year later, here you are with me just talking the NBA. You're part of a big fancy World Baseball Network now, Mr. World Baseball Network. And I'm just happy to see you progressing the way you are, my friend. But let's get into it in regards to Orlando and the Orlando Magic. Such a tragic. It's Paulo Banchero just coming off a 50-point game, the first 50-point game of the season. Things are starting to turn around. You and I had talked about in preseason how I still think generating offense is the key for this team. Defending is never a problem with this team, but could they generate enough points in the basket in order to go ahead and become a team that's going to take that next step? And I thought, I put them at a top 4 seed. I don't think that's going to be taking place now because Paulo Banchero is out with a torn oblique. Your thoughts on how devastating an injury this is to the Orlando Magic?
Yeah, so far it's been not great at all for them. If you've watched the past 2 games or so, they just have not played that well, especially last night. Or was this last night? Well, their
I think it was
last game.
Saturday night. Was it
Saturday
Saturday
night.
night? Dallas?
It was. It was Dallas. Yeah, that's correct. So their last game against Dallas was not pretty at all. In fact, I saw in today's NBA Power Rankings, it was the 3rd worst offensive performance by a team so far this year. If I wanted to, I'll dive into it real quick. Of course, this team without Paulo Banchero, Tristan da Silva got his first start of the season in place of that. I think you're going to see that a lot with this team while he's gone. Franz Wagner led the way in points with 13 for the Orlando Magic. 13 points leading the team. 6 of 15 from the field for him. It's kind of unfair, though, with this injury to lean all on Franz. I think you need to step up. I think you need other people to step up. Jalen Suggs in particular, that night, 10 points, not efficient at all from the field, 4 for 13. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has not been all there offensively at all. I think his defense has been fine, but when you look at him on offense, it's been kind of a struggle, and you're really going to need that to step up. Wendell Carter Jr. Kind of was, favoring himself again in terms of injury stuff. He's had some history with injuries, so that would be another bad loss for this Magic team. And then Tristan da Silva, I think he was just a little shell shocked from starting, but 7 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3 for him. God bless Mo Wagner, 10 points off the bench. He just continues to be a good producer off the bench for that team against Dallas. But ultimately, this Magic team, you're not going to win when you shoot 33% from the field and 19.5% from 3. You're not going to win that way, and they lose 108-85 to the Mavericks. Yeah, I think you're going to see this kind of thing for the next few games. And I think it's honestly just pure shell shock that you don't have Paulo Banchero out there. You're really going to see how big of a deal he is to this basketball team. And it's going to, at least for the next month or so, hurt this hurt this Magic team. I mean, you saw he had that 50-point game where he exploded against Indiana and then even had a good game against Chicago. Got off a shot. It didn't count, of course, but it was sort of like a flip it toward the rim shot to beat the buzzer and nearly did against the Chicago Bulls the next game. He had 31 that game. And then all of a sudden this oblique injury pops up. So it's absolutely, horrible for this Magic team. You're just going to see how much, he means to the squad. I don't really know how, it's going to take some time if you're an Orlando fan out there to really watch how Jamal Mosley adjusts with this. And I don't blame him. I mean, this is like horrific. This is like worse nightmare stuff right now for Orlando. And it's just, you kind of got to, dig it out for another month or so, at least.
Once again, it is Alfred Ezman at Alfred Ezman on Twitter, part of the World Baseball Network, but always a great part of what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. My friend, let me ask you then, what are some of the trends that you're seeing? Obviously, the sizzling hot start by the Cleveland Cavaliers has caught everybody's eye. Boston still playing despite the loss the other night in overtime to Indiana. I don't think anybody's freaking out there. The Eastern Conference, I thought was going to be improved this season, but so far we are seeing very mixed returns.
Yeah, we are. I'm looking at the standings right now, and as of right now, I know this is kind of a silly conversation and really really early to have, but if we're just gonna do it for the heck of it, the Pacers right now have the 10 seed with a 2-4 record. The 3 seed New York Knicks are 3-2, and I think the 500 mark starts right at the 5 seed, which is the Chicago Bulls right now at 3-3. So you have 4 teams in the Eastern Conference right now with winning records. If anything, that should give the Orlando Magic some hope at least. They kind of want the Eastern Conference to just continue to melt over itself, like it's doing. It's kind of weird. I still think it's gonna be. I still think it's going to be like people have said though, with as far as competitiveness, you're going to have a solid 1 seed. I know the Cavs are doing great, and more power to them. I think that's going to be Boston by the time we actually start talking playoffs. Still, just in my opinion, I think you're going to have that strong 1 seed, maybe a strong 2 seed in Cleveland. Possibly they have that, but then 3 through the rest, practically to the end of the play-in, just like last year, is going to be toss-up stuff. Whether that be around 500 and below 500 teams, remains to be seen. Whether that be just a little more improved around the same record, we don't know, and we'll see. But I think it's certainly kind of funny to look at. It's like, wow, this. There's absolutely no comparison between these two conferences in terms of competitiveness. The West just blows this out of the water. But I do think it speaks on how I think a lot of people thought the East, at least in the middle part of the playoff board, was going to be pretty even and tight. And so far it's turning out that way, just in a quite a poor way, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at.
Did you have on your bingo card for the Eastern Conference Philadelphia and Milwaukee at the very bottom of it?
I did not. I toyed around with the idea of Milwaukee missing out on the playoffs. I'll say that. I did not think they'd be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I thought that was a little much, but that was certainly not on my bingo card. Detroit needs, or not Detroit, Philly needs Embiid, speaking of which, and Paul George back. That's really what they need, and I think they're going to get that back, here shortly. So that'll really help them. As for the Bucks, I'm sure everyone who watches the show, and you guys love it, it's the Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham show in Milwaukee. So I'm sure we're smiling a little extra at that. I am too, because that was probably my least favorite thing last year seeing was Adrian Griffin getting fired, after the position he put the Bucks in. So I'm kind of I'm on board with this. I'm gonna be straight up honest about it. And but as far as how they can improve Milwaukee, I don't really know, Gerald. I think they're kind of set. You know what I mean? I don't think it's not like they have one of their players out like Philly does. Like Philly doesn't have Paul George and Joel Embiid right now. That's like a huge deal for that team, obviously. Milwaukee's kind of set. They kind of got to figure out what they're doing, and it's going to be tough sledding for them if they continue this so far.
So with that, we'll shift over to the Western Conference. Who are the surprises out there for you? My surprise is Golden State, only because they've been able to maintain a winning posture with a 5-1 record, even without Stephen Curry in the lineup with that sprained ankle. They have a deep roster. I said going into the season, I favored teams in my predictions that had deeper rosters to making the playoffs over the course of an 82-game season. I just think it helps your team. Sorry, Lakers. That means you don't have a deep roster, so I'm really concerned about where you're going to go. So with that, seeing the Golden State Warriors and their depth being able to, at least for now, stop the bleeding with their injuries. They got Wiggins back. They don't have Curry yet back, but he's not going to be out seemingly long term. It kind of puts things at ease when you have a 12-man rotation going in Golden State.
Yeah, it's certainly a surprise, and it just goes to show how Curry, is really keeping that team alive still, for the time being and stuff. I'll take a look at them right now. Obviously, One loss on the season, a bad one to the Clippers. Beyond that, though, I mean, they've pretty much been cruising, and they've done this, Gerald, on the road, a good bit. They really haven't been at home as much as you'd think in the Bay Area. I mean, they were at Portland and at Utah to start the season. They had a tough game. I think going to play at Houston this year is going to be tough for pretty much every team. That's another team just to keep an eye on and watch out for. Me and you in particular love them. Yeah, I mean, if they're deep like they are, who knows? I mean, they could certainly make some noise in this Western Conference and be up there with the Minnesotas. I think once this starts to level out, the Denvers, the OKCs, obviously, and talk about that team's going to be exciting this year. I mean, just based off what I've seen from them, I've been really surprised by them, and I've loved what I've seen. I guess my little Western Conference observation. Can I go with a player? Is that okay?
Sure, do whatever. You're the guest, man. Go
Why
for
not?
it.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Devin Booker. I've been super impressed with him so far this season. Just looking at what he's done and stuff, it's been cool to see. 27, pretty much 27 points a game, 40% shooting from three, 46% from the field. I'm almost certain he had a 40-point night. Let me double check that, but he did.
Phoenix him and KD have been playing really well for the Suns.
Right.
I know the Beal situation is what it is, but with Ryan Dunn being the rookie of the year so far in the league, it's gotten the Phoenix off to a great start so far, my friend.
Yeah, and their concern, I think, the past few years has been depth, right? I mean, they just didn't really have a lot beyond that starting lineup. That is playing really well this year. I do think if this continues, though, that they can have a chance to make a lot of noise for a title. Obviously, we're saying this 6 games into the year, so what does it matter? But I think if we're going off what we have, it's safe to say that a little bit. They know their window's closing. Kevin Durant is well into his late 30s. Devin Booker, is getting up there as well in age. I think they know that their opportunity is closing, and thus far, they've been doing great. And the reason I say Devin Booker really is the past 3 games. So his 40-point game was against the Clippers. Before that, in the win against the Lakers, 33 points, and then 28 their last game on Saturday against Portland. So he's been kicking tail, so to speak, so far. That Clippers game, he shot 55% from 3 on 9 shots. The 3-point shot wasn't falling for him. And actually, shots weren't falling for him in general against Portland, but he got to the line a lot. And honestly, it nearly put up a triple-double, too. I mean, he had 9 rebounds and 9 assists. So one of each away from triple-double noise. I've been really impressed with him and Kevin Durant. Like you said, that's a team. It's them and behind Oklahoma City, it's them and the Warriors neck and neck for that second spot right now. So those are the 2 teams we've loved. And who knows, maybe they go back and forth throughout the rest of this year.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as far as the 2 through 6 seeds. Number 1, though, I don't think there is still, without a doubt, OKC, no matter who's in there, Alfred, that defense, I mean, you look at it, they are holding their opponents right now to 97.5 points. The closest team defensively, get this, the closest team to defensively that I'm looking at is the San Antonio Spurs at 104. So they are 7 points better than the next team in defensive rating. That is just, I think that just speaks volumes. And this is something that, again, if you think they're not experienced enough, you do think they're not ready to take that next step, defense translates in the playoffs, Alfred, as we've seen. And this is a team that doesn't have to take that next step with their defense. It may already be there already.
Yeah. Have fun, Orlando. That's where they are tonight. So we'll see how they do in that game without Paolo Banchero. But I've been enthralled with how they've played. I was like that they're a team who's going to be big this year. They're going to be another top seed in the West. They look like they could be the best team in the NBA if they continue to keep this up. I mean, this is incredible stuff we're seeing across the board. SGA, he was Gerald. Did you have him MVP pick for our picks?
Yes, my SGA was my MVP pick. Of all my wrong picks so far in my preseason prognostications, my one that I have right so far would be SGA. So if you think
Yes.
the MVP, although Anthony Davis obviously has to give him a run for the money right now.
Yeah, those two are neck and neck. And the SGA's resume, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. 26 and a half, six or almost 7 rebounds a game, 6.5 assists, 47% shooting from the field. He's almost making half his shots, which is just incredible stuff. And I mean, top to bottom, this team, just, from a defensive standpoint, has been great. And speaking of SGA, a block a game and almost 2 steals a game. That might not seem like a lot, but when you're getting that out of your star, who's I think your go-to bucket, that's really nice to see on the defensive end of the floor. I just think this team is, so well put together. I think everything they're doing is coming to a head. And I know it's way, way too early to say this, but even if they don't win the championship this season, there is still a chance this team gets the number 1 overall pick in the lottery. There's a chance that happens. And if that happens, it's going to be not fun for everyone else in the NBA for a long time.
There's
I will
also a
just say
chance they
that.
could get as many as 5 first-round picks next year.
Yeah.
I think, or
Yeah.
four. One of them is like tied to the Clippers and another team, Houston. One something has to happen. I think so. I think it's 4 number ones. Gee, that life is so hard for OKC right now.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty. And even just, I mean, we're not even to that point at all yet, but just from how they're doing this year standpoint, they clearly have a case to be the best team in the NBA, if you want to put it that way. We'll see if that can continues. I mean, they can go out there and get the number 1 seed in the West if they'd like. So we'll see how that rolls for them. I me and you both are high on them. I had them beating the Celtics in this year's NBA Finals, so I think that would be a very entertaining finals if we were to get that. I think they'd put up a good fight against a good Celtics team like we saw last year, and like we're kind of seeing this year as well. So yeah, I'm really, really high on this team. Again, the defense has been there for them. They have their man who can compete for an MVP, and it's been exceptional stuff. So excited for OKC to say the least.
Once again, it is Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and follow him on the Twitter at Alfred Ezman, right there for you. Yes, BTS says go get Nolan. We got Nolan, brother Armel. Yes, but I don't think we're going to get Nolan. We don't even have a first-round draft pick as of now, BTS. That is part of the problem. Just because we have one Traore brother does not mean we're going to get the other one. I think he's going to go somewhere in the lottery. He's projected right now somewhere in the lottery, so I don't think that we're going to be able to go ahead and get him. I want to go ahead and mention what I think was Worst GM said about getting rid of Rob. As much as we would like Rob to leave, unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon because the fact as long as the Lakers keep having a winning record, I think that ensures his job security, even though, again, the way he has constructed this roster is absolutely mind-boggling, to say the least. I don't know. You and I talked about this before, especially with the depth issues. Right now it's 6 games in, and the Lakers have not, that comparatively speaking, only have the injuries to Wood and Vando right now that is keeping them off the court. So it hasn't really affected the Lakers yet. But this bad bench problem is going to be an issue, man, before as we get into our preview tonight against the Pistons.
Yeah, I think so. At some point this is going to be tested. I thought maybe this road trip that they're on as we speak could be a chance for them to get tested at that. And we'll see if that holds true. I mean, again, we're barely into November, so there's still a lot of time to see that really become a problem and stuff. But from certainly a rebound win against Toronto is what you'd like to see. Again, Anthony Davis really helps you with that with 38 points. And then how many rebounds was it? Like 11? Yeah, 11 rebounds as well. So I mean, you certainly like to see that. But again, I think that's the thing I would be hoping for. I'm with you, Gerald. If I'm a Laker fan, is just watching for guys off the bench who can give you something on any given night. It can be different people. At this point, it's like, who cares? But that's really what I'm looking out for tonight. And you're going up against a Pistons team who I know they don't look that great, so far this year, 2-4 record. But or 2
There's
and
no
5,
excuses
excuse
for the
me.
Lakers tonight. Yeah, 2-5. They played last night, got their
Mhm.
second win. No excuses. They had to play, I think, in Brooklyn, and they're flying back. Yeah, no
Right.
excuses. So the Lakers had the weekend off. Absolutely no excuses tonight. They've got their full starting lineup. I know this has all the earmarkings of a Jamie Sweet special, Admiral Akbar trap game, but I'm going to go ahead and say again, the Lakers, if they play the way that JJ has them playing so far for the most of the season outside of Cleveland, I think they definitely have this game in hand.
I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, they need to be able to beat a Pistons team if they want to be at all competitive this season, whatsoever. And like you said, I mean, they're on a back half of a travel back to back, against LeBron James and the Lakers. So it's a game that plays into the Lakers' favor, and they should be able to do really well with it. I think it's going to be interesting. This team, I think, if you look at the Pistons, just to look at them for a sec this season when they've done well, really it's been on the back of Cade Cunningham. I think it's when Cade Cunningham has a good night, the Pistons do well. Opening night, they went toe to toe with the Pacers. Cunningham at 28. Same thing with the Cavs. They were with them for a good bit of that game. Cade Cunningham at 33. The win against Brooklyn, Cade led the team with 19 points. Got Jalen Duren 17 rebounds that game too. That's an eye-opening
Yeah,
stat.
but some days he's a monster like that, getting the double
Mhm.
double, and some days he just disappears. And this is no longer he's no longer a rookie or in his second year. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, that and his turnovers have been bad this year. That's kind of the one thing that hurts him a lot. I think he averages 4 or 5 a game. And I think that comes from having to be the one, to put the ball in the hoop a ton for your team. But yeah, that's kind of the problem there with playing him so much. I think if you can get to him and cut off his circulation, so to speak, not literally, that would be really, really scary and bad. But from a basketball standpoint, if you can cut off his circulation as far as getting the offense going for Detroit, you're pretty much in a really good spot. I mean, because then Detroit has to depend upon, I don't know, Jaden Ivey or Duran or some of their other guys to really, produce and get a lot of buckets all in one time. And that becomes really hard because they really don't have anyone that I have faith in to do that. Also, I'm pretty sure without Asar Thompson tonight for what it's worth. So that's just another side note as well. But yeah, I think the key for the Lakers, just simply put, you shut down Cade Cunningham as much as you can. You're going to walk out of Detroit with a win.
I'm actually got it on playback. You're always welcome to join us, Alfred. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. If you want to join us, I have up to 20 VIPs. I can actually watch the game with me. If you're ever interested, you're more than welcome to join. If anyone out there wants NBA League Pass, I've got a discount coupon for up to 40% off. That's going to be in the link below as far as the description there. But before we head it out, my friend, because it's still got 15 minutes left, I did want to mention somebody in the chat. We had a good laugh over this when Quabina, I think, laid it on us last night. He said somehow somebody's trying to create rumors that other teams might be interested in JHS. Jalen Hood-Schifino, his third year of his option was declined, so he is already going to become a free agent at the end of the season. Alfred, again, if you were a GM, why would you be even been, even if you do have interest in him, even if you say, hey, I think that kid's got talent, why would you even want to spend $1 on him unless it's, let's say, like in a bulk trade as salary filler add on to get another player, so to speak? But as a trade straight up for JHS, why would you want that? Because let's say the Memphis GM, because all the Lakers, they leave now and they seem to go to Memphis because we've got Scottie Pippen Jr. doing well there. We've got Jay Huff doing well there, just signed a 4-year deal. And Colin Castleton just signed a deal as a two-way player there. Why would you ever want to go ahead and make a trade for someone who is already on his way out?
I have no idea, and I actually kind of took a second glance at looking at a Twitter graphic the other day of some trade involving him, and I was like, I don't know who is trading for Jalen Hood-Schifino. I'm gonna be
The only thing is
honest.
expiring. If he needs to be added on, it is $4 million expiring. That's it. That's the only
Right?
reason why I see him involved. Nobody wants him specifically at this time.
No. Yeah, that would be the only reason, and I'm sure it absolutely every time I get on here, this conversation comes up, and I mean it is like quite the conversation to have because the following picks after him have just been at least something suitable and of substance, compared to what he's been, whether it's Jaime Jaquez, Podzemski, and then Cam Whitmore. I know a touchy sour subject on here, but yeah, I don't. It's
Trace Jackson Davis.
yeah, Trace Jackson Davis. Who's your basketball, baby? It's, but I don't. I mean, it's. I don't know who would want him. You're right. It's for that expiring deal and stuff, and beyond that, it's nothing on the court. Tells you that you want Jalen Hood-Schifino. So that's really what I get from it. I mean, I'm not sure. If I'm the Lakers, I'm happy that you just got him out of the G League system for now, because obviously that's something that just hasn't worked, and you can move on from it. If you can get a trade out of it, like I'm seeing on Twitter, good on to you. That'll be a good Pelinka move, which I'm sure people would enjoy for a change, maybe. But yeah, that's really what I take away from it. I don't know who else would want him, in all honesty.
And that's the thing, because I know a lot of people out there are saying, "Oh yeah, get rid of Pelinka." We always say get rid of Pelinka every year here on this channel, but he is that, like, I think I compare him to a cat because he's got 9 lives, and
Right.
he does just enough, or just enough happens for him to retain his job in Genie's eyes. By the way, cool bro, the game starts at 4:30 to let everyone know out there. But yeah, it's just so funny because he has enough lives given to him, or that he does just enough, or just enough happens to where his job remains safe year in, year out, Alfred. And much to my chagrin, much to a lot of people on that watch our show, much to a lot of people that are Lakers fans out there, much to our chagrin, I think the organization is being held back. If you take a step away, and as to you as an observer that's not a Lakers fan, you're just a general basketball fan in general. Am I wrong in saying that if you took a step back, you could really see that maybe the way that this team has been constructed, the constructor, or the guy who diagrammed all this, may be the reason why this team isn't going farther?
Yeah, and it's just kind of hard because you really kind of want to. I understand you want to ride out the Anthony Davis, LeBron James train until the tracks run out. You know what I mean? But at some point, you're gonna have to come to a crossroads that you don't like coming to, and it's where are we as a team? That whole conversation, and usually that ends up with you having to go through some not so fun times, as far as rebuilding goes. I know the Lakers, it's a little different because you can always seem to bring in free agents to help yourselves and everything, and that could definitely happen. But whether or not that happens, or what I said previously about, what are we as a team, that conversation happens. That conversation has to come at some point or another. And that might not be this year, maybe not the next year, maybe not even the year after that. But at some point, I would say within the next 10 years or so of existence, it's going to have to come up. And it'll be an interesting conversation. Like I said, I kind of spoke too soon a little, maybe. The Lakers can always go out and find free agents. That's the beauty of, this team, is that everyone on planet Earth, if you're a basketball player, wants to play for you. But that's a conversation that's going to need to be had at some point. And I think it'll come to a head soon, but I think it's fair to want to ride out LeBron James and Anthony Davis for now. So that's fine. It's just like I think Laker fans have to be content a little with probably not winning a title, in the near future. So sorry, I know that's gross, especially with Boston, kind of surging the way they are. But I think it's kind of I think that's kind of the reality people will have to come to terms with, just a little. And if they shut me up and win a title, by all means do so. Everyone on here can make fun of me. But
oh no, they'll start with Joe and I first for our
right.
picks on where we thought they were going to be this season. They'll probably go to Stone next, and they'll probably go to the entire roster of panelists, because most of them outside that are not named Laker Tom, and even Laker Tom picked them 6, but somehow magically picked them to win the title. I don't know how Tom came to that conclusion. They're going to be 6, but they're going to somehow win the title. But okay, all right. But outside of that, nobody in our entire panel of what I think it was 12 or 13 people, 14,
Mm,
picked the Lakers above 6 positions. So we'll all take the heat if that's the case. All of us.
yeah.
So we'll all do it all together. We'll all jump on the grenade for you, my friend. So.
Right. No, and I mean, obviously, it's like I don't know how mad you can be at Rob Pelinka for wanting to keep LeBron James around for the time being. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, look, the guy is, you could say the best basketball player ever. He's just in the conversation in some shape and form. And, he's teamed up with a guy and Anthony Davis who is competing for an MVP season at least through 6 games. You kind of got to be content with where you're at for now. I think it's important in the back of his mind and in the back of Laker fan minds that the conversation that I talked about previously is going to have to be had at some point in the near future. And in whatever way it gets solved is how it gets solved. So that's kind of what I mean when I say the title concern thing, because it's like if you're stuck in this, if you have that in the back of your mind, it's kind of hard to push your team to win at the rate it is, because it's just like the windows closing sort of thing. And I think it's just sort of a lull, if you know what I'm saying about where the team's at. But again, maybe they win a title and I'm wrong, but that's just how I look at it. And it's not a bad, horrible situation to be in. It could be worse. There are teams out there in worse situations. But it's something to keep in mind that, the conversation needs to be had at some point.
Brian makes a good point. JHS could have a career similar to Chauncey Billups, and I said that may be true. But if that's the case, we're going to be the Boston stop on JHS's career, if you want to equate that, because remember, Billups was drafted by Boston and then bounced around from there until he really found his niche, and then obviously played to the level where he became a Hall of Famer after that. So I don't see him succeeding with the Lakers. And again, it just looks like it's his time is coming soon to an end. But unfortunately, ours is too here. We've got about 7 minutes left. So with that, my friend, it is the Lakers and Pistons tonight. Go ahead and join us, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break here in just a few minutes. I see Joe in the chat. Ox1947 says the longer LeBron is here and the title isn't reached, the longer it takes to build for a title. I'm not going to disagree with that because, who he is, how much he makes, how much he takes out of your cap going forward, et cetera, et cetera. But with that, my friend, any other observations that you might have on the season? Like I said, we got about 5 minutes left, my friend.
I'm trying to think. We covered a lot of it. I think it's if you're the Lakers, just finish this road trip out strong. Playing on the road for at least the Magic. I know the Magic have a whole new situation right now with Paolo Banchero, but for them, at least when it comes to winning on the road, it's a huge deal. With Orlando was one of the best teams at home a season ago. It was kind of the road record that kept them from getting a home court advantage in the playoffs. For the Lakers, I think you want to view it in a similar way. I said this on shows previously. Winning on the road is important, and I think I think this is a big opportunity for the Lakers to do this, especially going and playing some Eastern Conference teams like you did last game against the Raptors and tonight with the Pistons. It's huge, and you got to take advantage of opportunities like this. And I'd say, maybe a slow start to it, but you've kind of warmed up to it. You needed a win like you did against Toronto, and go out there and get it done tonight against Detroit.
Well, there you go. And then for Xbox out there, I actually was familiar with the Melbourne Cup Day. I used to, way back when I was living in LA, and Hollywood Park was actually a thing and not a SoFi Stadium instead. This SoFi Stadium instead now on the ground. See, and I used to go every now and then to Hollywood, as far as Hollywood Park. Yes, I used to remember all the different horse racing events around the world. And so I'm hoping that you have a great one then, my friend. Hopefully you catch the game with us and enjoy the racing as well. But Alfred, before we head on out, it's time to do the cheap plug, as I ask all my guests to do. where can they follow you, and where can they also catch your great work that you're not writing badly about anyone's family about in the world of baseball?
Yes, so I'm not writing badly about anyone's relatives in any sort of way, anything like that. I'm doing good. I'm doing what I would think is good work, though, on World Baseball Network website covering really international baseball on a global scale. Toned down a little bit now. NPB, the Japanese league, the KBO in Korea, and the MLB, obviously, all out of season. Those championships have been determined. Uh, I'm the college baseball guy, in quotes, so to speak. So I've been doing off-season stuff and in anticipation for that. Schedule drops, kind of top 5 list sort of thing, matchups to look for, that sort of nature. But there's plenty of other stuff going on. Premier 12 is a big global baseball event. I got guys like Xbox will know Travis Bazzana from Australia. Huge big time name, number 1 overall pick. He's playing for Australia in that event. And it's just like, it's basically, think of it as the World Cup for baseball a little bit, kind of that similarity to it. I think it's not as huge, obviously, but kind of a very cool event to pay attention to. You got Caribbean Winter Leagues happening right now. Obviously, the MLB free agency's, going to be rampant. Juan
They've already
Soto, where
started.
he's going. They're started and everything. We're going to see signings here shortly, so keep an eye out for that as well. Yeah, and just so keep watching out for that. I'm the college baseball person, but I help out with everything if needed as well. So that's the work we're doing over at World Baseball Network. Be sure to check that out today.
Make sure you go ahead and stop on first at his Twitter. Please follow him, Alfred Ezman, right there on Twitter. And of course, his work with the World Baseball Network and with everything that he does for us here at the Lakers Fast Break. Alfred, we are so glad that you're still a part of what we're doing here in the world of basketball. I know we're not your primary source of sporting entertainment now, but we are always glad when you can stop on by and go ahead and share your knowledge, because I know you keep a glancing eye every now and then on the NBA.
Of course, always watching the NBA. Like Gerald said, used to write, kind of got a little bit of a start writing about the Orlando Magic and NBA stuff. So always will hold it near to my heart, watch it as much as I can, and I'll just try to give you guys my best 2 cents on anything that's happening.
Yeah, Xbox. I mean, first of all, way back when, for many years, it was just the forum, and then it was Hollywood Park taking up that entire lot of land. The almost mile and a half or whatever. Yeah, it was just that. But then they closed down Hollywood Park to create SoFi Football Stadium, YouTube Theater, which is attached to SoFi Stadium, and then also now the Toilet Bowl, aka Intuit Dome. That's all on that property now. But thank God the Forum is still there, and it's still going strong. Ballmer had the chance to rip it down, and you know what? Classy move. He didn't do that, and it's still going strong. So yeah, much kudos to him. Not his Clippers, because the Clips going to clip, and who cares about them? But at least, I got to give Ballmer credit where it's due. He's trying to do what he can for his team. I don't know if Genie's doing the same thing, but that's another story altogether. But Alfred, so great to have you here. Please join us, everyone, coming up here on Playback or the simulcast, if I can get that going again. Always having issues to start up the show, but I will try to get it on YouTube and Facebook, but I will definitely have it for you. You can join me. I got up to 20 VIPs available on Playback, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, and the game is coming up right now. Don't forget, after the game, it is the post-game show with me and Joe Soro and whoever else wants to join us. Will it be John Costa fighting the Chad again? Who knows? But I'll tell you what, we'll find out after the Pistons game right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast.